Welcome to the channel. This is going to be my review of Star Trek Starfleet Academy episode 9, the second to last episode, part of I guess it's kind of a two show cliffhanger for the end of the season because apparently there is going to be a second season. Why? I have no idea why this show would get any more playtime. It is garbage in most cases. Anyways, this is for episode 9. So, episode 9 is, they call it, I think it's called 300 Days. Basically, it's the end of the first term at Academy. And there's a big display on the screen 300 days, and then celebrate a little actual background for the Academy. We're celebrating blah, blah, blah. And then it goes to the students, and they're all just walking down the aisle, skipping along and high fiving each other and all this stuff. And it's like, you know, this isn't high school, and I don't even think they do that kind of stuff in high school. But anyways, it's the end of the first year. None of them got killed, but none of them learned anything either. It's just disappointing. That's the right word. Disappointing how this show has gone. That it doesn't show any of the inner workings of Starfleet Academy. It's all teen drama, team angst, garbage, 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 bad dialogue, whatever. But that said, this episode 9 is actually the least crappy of the episodes so far, if that's a good thing. It's a pretty low bar. But yeah, it's actually almost a little bit Star Trek, except for, of course, the writers screw it up because they don't know how to write anything. They don't understand science, the background, anything like that. There's plot holes big enough you could drive a semi trailer truck through them. It's just badly written, however, mildly entertaining. I actually watched it. So, because we're hitting the end, we know that we're going to meet Caleb's mother, and that happens. Um, that would signal that he's probably going to leave Star Trek. He hints that that's going to happen. But yeah. So, anyways, it's party central there, and they start off with sort of the main characters, eyebrows girl and puking Sparkles guy and Gaiden, the Klingon. And holy shit, one time during the show, he actually wears that kind of uh, belt that Worf wore. That, but it's supposed to have all your battle awards and everything. Well, his got nothing on it really. But it was actually other than him wearing his skirt all the time, it actually kind of fit to something that is indicative of Klingons in Star Trek. But anyways, they go into his room and he's having a bowl of some kind of soup or whatever, but it's a friendship soup, and he invites everybody that's there. They're his friends, and he wants to invite them to his family because he doesn't really have a family anymore. So they all have to have some of the soup and say a few words. And it gets to everybody does it, even the hollow girl who can't drink anything, but she says the words. Uh, since the last episode, or since her return and getting Control Alt deleted to reboot, she's still the same annoying asshole that she's always been during the show. So no improvement there. But Caleb turns it down because he's basically doing his thing that he's done through most of the episodes, which is pouting. He's either trying to get into that chick's pants, or he's apologizing for not getting into the chick's pants to the chick, or, well, I think he did, though, because she at one point says, "Oh, you saw me naked." And it's like, yeah, that's not, based on your looks, baby, that's not too much. Anyways, so he turns it down because he's thinking about his mother. So, because this episode's going to be all about reuniting with his mother, they have to bring that forward. And so he toddles off to his room, and Sam pops in because she can materialize and dematerialize. Later on in the episode, when that would have actually been handy, she doesn't freaking do it. She allows herself to get handcuffed. Figure that one out. The person who can dematerialize, rematerialize like a that she has a personal transporter doesn't do that. They say to her at that point, if you run away, we'll shoot your friends. It's like, A, how do they know that she's a hollow person? She hasn't got a big sign on her head or anything. Um, I suppose, I don't know. It makes no sense why they have to say that to keep her there. But, anyways, so Caleb's in his room and he's looking at his iPad or whatever the equivalent is for kids in Starfleet Academy, and there's nothing on the screen. And then Sam materializes and starts talking to him about it, and he says, "Well, either she can't or she doesn't want to communicate with me because there's nothing here." And so then this guy who's supposedly so bloody bright that he can do all this hacking and stuff, uh, Sam says, "Well, think of it as a kid, make it a game out of it." And he immediately, instantly, we get a flashback back to when him and his mother in the first episode were looking up at some planet's moon, and the mother says it's some name, I can't even remember what the hell it is. So he basically puts the name into the pad for decryption, and all these messages miraculously appear. You'd think that they would have been there. He might not have been able to access them, but of course that's how the story has to go. It has to be that he doubts his mother, so they can't show any of these messages tied up in his iPad, and that's why he maybe didn't think it. Again, makes absolute zero sense, that whole bit. The whole bit with becoming the family of the Klingon. I don't know why they put that in, other than to show that Caleb's sitting there, uh, daydreaming over his mother, lost mother. I don't know. It's just ridiculous. And then this bit where Sam has to be the one to tell him that maybe he knows the word that will unlock the stuff that is not visible on his iPad, which suddenly becomes visible, and it's his mother's been communicating to him for years. Gee, what do you know? She did what she said she was going to do. But she tells him where to come, and because of the ending of the show, the cliffhanger kind of thing of episode 9, she tells him to come to some planet which is way away from the Federation or Bajor, uh, or wherever the planet of the psychic people are. Betazoid, yeah, because they said they would. Starfleet said they would build another alternate headquarters there, so they're going there to bless it, put the Pope's blessing on it. So now Caleb decides he's found his mother. He knows where she's going to be, this out of the way planet, way away from the Federation. But Admiral Barefeet is taking the ship to Beta Z for this ceremony, and he decides that he's going to tell her because she did promise to help him. Uh, Side story in this, the jeopardy in this, is that uh, the big baddie from the first episode, um, when he tricked Barefoot Admiral into leaving the research station unguarded, they stole some kind of bullshit magical. It just reminds me of the um, Galaxy Quest movie where they had the bullshit particle that set back time 13 seconds. Well, anyways, apparently, I don't remember it, but apparently this was actually mentioned in Voyager, that it is a very dangerous chemical. What it does is it tears subspace and normal space up so magically, just like the exploding dilithium for this whole series, you can't travel at warp anymore, and that will isolate all the planets who have actually started coming together under Starfleet. So they test it out in the Badlands, no, in the middle of nowhere. Why they wouldn't test it if they're serious about the shit? Why wouldn't they test it closer? But they do it out where it doesn't affect anybody, and it does what they say it is. So um, Caleb decides he can't tell the admiral because she's busy with this supposed threat that's all her fault. But she never acknowledges that if she wasn't such a useless commander at Starfleet, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Um, so Caleb decides he's going to steal a shuttle and go rescue his mom because there's an imminent invasion of this planet that she is telling him to come to from some other bullshit bad group that they brought into this show. They always got to have their own group of baddies. Um, so he goes into the shuttle bay, gets into a shuttle, uh, and magically starts opens up a panel and starts picking out little chips and moving them and replacing other chips and to get access to the shuttle, which is kind of a rip-off of something you've seen in Next Generation when Data moved a bunch of chips around to try to change an outcome. It's just so stupid. Why he would know this, why he would understand this. But anyways, Sam appears, and she's gonna go with him because she's gonna go with him. But now she's her own person, and nobody can tell her what to do. So she's gonna come mainly because she wants to come to make sure he doesn't kill himself trying to get his shuttle out of a spaceship traveling at warp. Um, okay, that's basically his response. Okay, you can come. And then Eyebrow Girl shows up, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" "Well, I'm in charge of the shuttle bay." So this girl that they want, that barefoot captain wants to put on the track for being a captain, is so incompetent that she can't even lock down the shuttle bay because Caleb just walks aboard this shuttle and starts fucking around with it to get it to go. And then guess what? The glitter puke guy shows up. He's hammered because everybody else in the show's had an episode when they're hammered, so he's got to be hammered. This is his episode to be hammered, and he staggers in. Again, is there no security? Like, Jesus, you know, nobody seems. You can go in, you can teleport in and snatch somebody off out of Starfleet. You can steal a shuttle. You can virtually do anything, and Worf, his character, there has been security officers. Worf was, O'Brien was in Deep Space Nine. There's actually been security officers, but apparently they're all flipping incompetent, just like Starfleet basically is through all these recent shows. They're a bunch of morons. But he goes, and they go to the planet, and they magically beam down to the planet. So if you got a transporter, you can use it virtually anywhere. And they all got hoodies on because, of course, they would have hoodies as a disguise. And they're all kind of mangy and grimy and whatever. And yeah, that's of course they got them. So they wander around, and apparently they damaged the shuttle because it was a rough ride. So they need parts. So they go off to find the parts, and Caleb goes off to find his mother. And in this entire planet where they show up, he stumbles across his mother, who doesn't originally, basically, he was following her a bit, trying to determine if it was his mother. Um, she hasn't changed a day since the first episode, but at least she would be relatively the same in the 20 or so years they've been apart. It's more than 20, actually. She would have changed a little bit, but of course they don't do. I guess they didn't want to spend the money on aging her a bit or whatever. But she magically recognizes the child that she has not seen since he was like 8, so 10, 12, whatever he was in the first show. And it's not like she's getting pictures of him because she's on the run from the Federation. So, okay, that had to happen, so let's just throw it into the script and that will happen. So, class shows up. The rest of the class shows up, and the mother is very suspicious of them. And so Caleb won't tell his own mother, this mother that he's been chasing and wanting to be with and all this stuff. He won't tell her that these are his friends and he went into Starfleet. I mean, he could even lie and say, look, I joined Starfleet because it was the best way for me to try to find you. Okay? I know that you're upset with them because they put you in a work camp, not a prison like they keep saying. No, not a prison. It was specific in the first episode, it was a work camp. But anyways, everybody calls it a prison. It might not have been too pleasant of a work camp, but or rehabilitation camp, I think it was, not a work camp. So still might not have been pleasant, but at least it's not prison. Uh, so he won't tell her that. Um, she asks them why they're there. They need this part, so then they pull out the magic bull dust pixie dust and create the part from this matter that they somehow have access to that the baddie was using when he attacked the Athena the first time. And they magically create the bullshit part. Yeah, it's some kind of relay, which means it's got moving parts. How the hell are you creating moving parts by just moving some of this matter? Again, it had to happen, so it goes into the story because it comes important later on when some baddie recognizes a part as a Federation part. Okay, so apparently everybody in the galaxy can recognize all the intimate parts of a Starfleet shuttle. But she does, and that's why she's going to arrest them. Okay. But that when they're first met and they make the part, the two groups separate. Caleb and his mummy. Um, they're going. They have to make sure there's room for the two of them to depart on the shuttle because it's been announced that the bad guys are coming to capture this planet. You think maybe there'd be a battle or something like that or whatever? Nah, they're just going to capture it. Okay, again, it had to happen to move the plot along, so let's put it in the script that it just fucking happens. Sorry. But immediately her friends, his Caleb's friends, get captured. Um, they start punching the crap out of the puke glitter guy, and he's just standing there. Take it. Do you think maybe he's got this alternate skin that is supposedly his natural appearance? Maybe he would flip over to that. Maybe it's a little bit more rugged than whatever. But they punch him in the face and he spits out blood and he's a tough guy now, apparently. Instead of a pansy, he's a tough guy. But um, ultimately they get into a fight. Again, they recognize him as being part of Starfleet. How well the script needed it, so let's throw it in there. And Caleb wants to know what's going to happen, and his mother says, "Oh, they'll probably execute them as a lesson." Why? I don't know. The story needed it to happen, so let's throw it in there. But Caleb goes to rescue his friends. Uh, they're being interrogated. The one guy's getting punched in the face. That's what classifies it as interrogation, I guess. And Caleb's mom kind of tries to bullshit the bad guys that they're just a bunch of idiots. They're not Starfleet because if they're Starfleet, they're going to kill them. Why? I don't know, but they're going to. And so the Caleb comes up to help his mom out, and there's a big fight, and most of the bad guys get killed. But his mom gets shot. So when he's holding her, um, the barefoot admiral, she had gone and dumped off all the students for the ceremony of the opening of the new Starfleet building. And then she took off to rescue the kids because Gaydon, or the gay Klingon, found the pad where and the messages that are supposedly, I guess they're all unencrypted now, and they saw the planet they are told, Caleb was told to go to, and realize it's going to under attack. So they stayed aboard the ship because the admiral magically knows exactly where she has to go while she's going to the edge of Federation space. First of all, the Big Cheese knows it, but he's going to pretend that nothing happened. Barefoot Admiral, Barefoot Captain, she's so tied up in Caleb that she doesn't do her freaking job as a captain. But Tig Notaro's character comes up. Oh, we'll just try the new three-man control of the ship. Oh, good. I guess that's never been tried in 2,000 years. So the doctor wanders in, and he's suddenly concerned because of Sam and the relationship he built with her on the previous episode. And then Tig. And so it's actually a two-man, not a three-man, because the captain just sits there talking to the computer. Does nothing to assist in anything. But okay. So they determine that they're going to go rescue the kids, and off they go. Now, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but maybe putting the shields up would be handy, knowing you're going into going to this planet that is being taken over by this hostile race. Might be a good idea to have the shields up, or at least something to be able to defend yourself. But anyways, they get there and they can't beam them from the surface, so they steal a scene directly out of season 3 of Picard when Troy pilots the Enterprise D down to beam up um, Worf and Riker and Picard's son. It's exactly the same. The bright light shining down, whatever, and they beam him up and take off. But again, no shields, no red alert, no nothing like that. That barefoot captain is so good at what she does. But the bad guys come after him and knock them out of warp somehow. I don't know how. It needed to happen, so they put it in the story. Um, just so convenient. But so they grab onto them with something, tractor beams of some sort, although they seem to be physical, and they can't get away because they can't form another warp bubble because that would tear the ship apart, Captain. That's the computer. Okay, well, how about shooting at them? I don't think they can use the torpedoes for some bullshit reason. Why? Because they had to make it happen. What about phasers? These ships are supposed to have phasers. In these shows, the Starfleet's tech is garbage for ships. Like they couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. You could probably take them on with a shuttle. But anyways, they decide that, or Barefoot Captain decides that she's going to separate the saucer section of Athena. But she'll be back to get the rest of her ship, or so she says. Yes. So they manage to separate, and they're being hit by with torpedoes, but they have the alternate warp drives, and zoom, they take off, leaving behind the big stupid wings of the Athena, which is bullshit garbage stuff, anyways. And so they get the mother to the doctor, and he is healing her, and Holly Hunter, even though it's in a critical situation and shit's bad, she goes down to the med bay to see Caleb's mother, and they stare at each other. She says hello. So, once again, to prove that Barefoot Captain is a horrible Starfleet captain, she leaves the bridge of her ship that is totally in jeopardy to go down to the sick bay. So she leaves one person on the bridge because the doctor's looking after the mother. So now Tig and some of the cadets, I guess, if yeah, they showed up, and so they had to take their positions. They're all pretty useless. They've shown during the show that they don't know shit about starships. But yeah, we'll just put them on the bridge when we're in this trouble. Well, if there's nobody else, it'd be Tig left, and other than throwing smartass comments at people, she's pretty useless. Supposed to be an engineer, but she spends more time doing stuff other than engineering on the show. So Okay, whatever. But right at the end of the show, the cliffhanger is that uh, the bad guys took that chemical they got from the research station and some other bullshit tech and made a bunch of mines, and now they have surrounded the Federation with these mines. So the Athena's saucer section is outside the minefield, because if they go in, it'll detonate and probably take out all of Starfleet. But Barefoot Captain says, "Well, he's done it for a reason. Why didn't he destroy us? So it must be me that he's after. Oh, for God's sakes!" But they're at the very end. They're sending out distress messages to any other Starfleet ship, because all the ships, supposedly, in a brilliant move by the ultimate big cheese guy to be as stupid as possible and prove that Starfleet, all the brain power was left behind 1,000 years ago, sends all the ships to Betazoid for this ceremony. All the ships? Really? Okay, they're all trapped inside this minefield. And then you see Barefoot Captain looking at this map. So it's CGI, so she's pawing at nothing. But oh, look at all the mines! They've got us surrounded. And of course, on the map it shows that they're surrounded by these mines. Do you know how many effing mines that would take to pretty well section off a piece of the galaxy? Because it's not just the one planet. It would make sense if they surrounded just that one planet, but no, they do the entire quadrant that Starfleet is in. So nobody can leave, nobody can enter. The Athena is outside. He's got us in a box. Okay, whatever. And so that'll be Paul Giamatti's going to show up probably in the 10th episode, and Holly Barefoot Captain can stare at him and say a bunch of useless dialogue, and it'll get resolved somehow. But Barefoot Captain says, "Well, we have to get through it somehow." And Tig Notaro, being the expert at navigation and doesn't even freaking look at her terminal, says, "Oh, there's no way in." And everybody accepts it. Oh my God. Why? Because it had to happen for the story that they can't get through this barrier. So they just threw the bullshit in. I mean, it had promise as a fairly decent episode because you get the mother returning and all that kind of stuff. But the writing is just so useless, whatever. They just throw stuff in because they need it to progress the story. They haven't thought anything through. There's no understanding of physics or anything else, or scale, or whatever. But so this episode is less bad than a lot of the other episodes when it's all about characters and stuff. This actually is somewhat about Starfleety type things, but it's poorly written and kind of poorly acted in some cases. Okay, so that's it. Another sucking episode. And you can look forward to next week when I do the finale and a bit of a wrap up for the show. But again, this show is just a disaster. Okay.